Welcome to the REI Freedom podcast, where we unleash the power of real estate investing and empower you to create a life of freedom on your own terms. Are you already acquiring off-market properties? Then listen closely, because we have something very special for you. At REI Freedom, we provide high-level acquisition skills training and coaching to take your real estate game to the next level. Say goodbye to deal cancellations and hello to consistent success. Our proven methods and expert guidance will equip you with the tools you need to secure more deals consistently.
Imagine a life where you have the freedom to live on your own terms, where real estate investing becomes your key to financial independence and fulfillment. It's time to break free from the ordinary and create the life you've always wanted. Let us provide you with the skills and knowledge to unlock the doors to your dreams. Join us on the REI Freedom podcast and embark on a transformative journey of acquiring bigger deals, securing more deals consistently, and living life on your own terms.
REI Freedom podcast. Unlock your potential, claim your freedom in real estate investing.
On this episode of REI Freedom, we feature our great team member, Justin Alleman. This podcast explores off-market acquisition skills in real estate. We discuss Justin's one-year anniversary with the company and delve into his experiences working under Dan Toback. Justin transitioned from a corporate role into real estate. Despite challenges, including entering the field with a family, he expresses immense satisfaction and growth in the dynamic business. The conversation highlights the importance of setting clear expectations with sellers and controlling the narrative throughout the acquisition process. Dan emphasizes the significance of setting the table for future decisions, comparing it to preparing for turbulence on a flight. He stresses the importance of surfacing objections early in the process, allowing for smoother negotiations. Justin shares a specific deal where setting expectations played a very crucial role, detailing a virtual acquisition with a live transfer from a cold call. During this episode, Jeremy commends Justin's accomplishments in his first year with the business, handling deals in 3 different states and achieving success both virtually and face-to-face. Justin humbly acknowledges the depth of the skill set required for acquisitions, expressing a continuous commitment to learning. The discussion concludes with Justin sharing his perspective on REI Freedom, emphasizing the control and entrepreneurial mindset real estate provides, offering ultimate freedom in shaping one's business and financial path. The podcast closes with Justin providing contact information for those interested in connecting with him. Overall, this episode highlights the practical application of acquisition techniques, the continuous learning journey in real estate, and the freedom that the industry offers in shaping a personalized and impactful career.
Welcome to REI Freedom, a podcast where we deep dive into off-market acquisition skills so you can get better at acquiring more deals, bigger deals, and less cancellations. I am Jeremy, and this is my beautiful wife, Shelly. We are the moderators here, and we are blessed to be with the star of the show, Mr. Dan Toback, who is the coach for REI Freedom and a gentleman who's done close to 1,000 off-market acquisitions in the better part of a decade. And he has provided coaching for our students as well as our team members. And today we have a team member, Mr. Justin Alleman, who is a veteran for our company as he's celebrating 1 successful year with our New Hampshire operations. Congratulations, Justin. So Justin has worked under Dan for the better part of this whole year. We're excited to hear what he has to say about working with Dan, because we all are better from learning from Dan. So with that being said, Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Oh, great. Thanks for the intro, Jeremy, and having me on here. So yeah, I've been working in real estate now as a cash buyer for a full year. I have the pleasure of working with NH home buyers and coastal Florida home buyers, working very closely with yourself and the great Dan Toback. It's been absolute pleasure so far. Very challenging in all the best ways. Really growing into this dynamic business. And honestly, I'm having a blast.
What did you do before you came into real estate?
I came from a corporate setting. I was a multi-unit territory manager for a large fitness chain.
Wow. Now you're married and with kids, right?
That's true.
And you took on coming in as an acquisition specialist, married with kids. That must have been a little scary at first.
It was super scary. Not only did I come in with kids, but my daughter was born 1 week into training.
That's
Wow.
right.
Yeah.
So you've worked with us for a year. You've been coaching with Dan, and you're definitely crushing it right now. If you could share what are the techniques that you feel helped you on a lot, or any specific deal that may have helped you, like what technique from Dan coaching taught you to either get a deal or really just change the way you did deals or getting deals?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway that I was able to apply in various ways was really setting and controlling the expectations with the seller. Having
Okay.
clear expectations and setting up clear steps in advance. So when it comes time to close and get that deal under contract, you're almost knocking over a set of dominoes.
Wow. Okay. Dan, so how do you go about setting up
Yeah,
clear
absolutely. So
expectations, and
Justin,
what's the value
that's a
of all
great
that?
one, man. Great takeaway. So the big thing with, and I would argue this is not even just real estate, right? This is probably the biggest thing any human to human interaction, right? Is what to expect. So I give this example a lot because Jeremy knows I'm not a huge fan of turbulence on a plane. No, absolutely. One
Well, you are
time I
not.
remember I was actually going to Bangkok. I was going to Thailand and I was taking off, I believe it was out of Singapore. It was like a little budget airline. This was years ago. And there was a storm. So we take off about a half an hour to flight. This thing feels like it's in a blender, completely like through the plane in a blender. And I was freaking out. I thought we were going down, budget airline in the middle of Southeast Asia. I thought I was heading to my downfall. And it's interesting because even though I don't like turbulence, I was petrified in that flight because there was no warning that it was even going to be a turbulent flight. But in the moment, it seemed like the world was going to end. I was on another flight, and this was back in the States, but the airline attendant and then the captain as well both warned us that there was going to be pretty good turbulence that day just because there were some storms in the area. They said about midway through flight, we're going to cancel food service because we don't want hot coffee spilling, but just know that's the reason why we're fully expecting it to be turbulent. Still turbulence, but it's almost like the turbulence wasn't as bad because they warned me that midway through the flight, there was going to be turbulence and that food service would be stopped. So the reason I like to give that example is because when it comes to working with sellers, a lot of times you have people who will, on the first phone call, you send out mailers or you call whatever your marketing strategy is, and they say, all right, we're going to set up an appointment, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, next week or whatever, this Friday. And they get to the appointment and they draw out this really low number and they throw out a contract. Let's sign it up. And the seller is totally lambasted. They're like, no, I'm not going to sign. I got to talk to my attorney. I got to talk to my godmother. I got to talk to my wife. And a lot of investors are like, whoa, why didn't I get the deal? Or why are they just signing? You didn't set the table. Like Justin was saying, on the first phone call, the first very interaction that you have with the seller, you should be building that rapport, building that trust. Of course, again, we'll say on anything that you ever hear me talk about, rapport and trust to everything. But besides that, you should be setting the table for every next step with that seller interaction. If there's a next phone call, there should always be a reason for that next phone call. What are we trying to accomplish before that next phone call so that phone call is effective, right? On that phone call, what are we actually looking to solve? What does following up in 3 days even mean? What does follow up mean, right? What does touching base mean? And you have all this jargon that people use, right? Like with selling that ultimately doesn't move the needle because all it is really wishy-washy commitments that don't mean anything. To Justin's point, you always want to have a reason for that next step, right? And what's happening before and after that next step. And that's another way where it doesn't become a shock, right? There's no shock and awe to the seller of what's happening, right? If we want to review a contract, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what are you looking for in a contract, right? What do you mean by review the contract? What does that mean for you? Does that mean an attorney? Does that mean a friend? Does that mean your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle? What does that mean to review it? Who's reviewing it, right? What exactly are you reviewing? Are you reviewing the price? Are you reviewing the terms? So you want to always label and identify every single objection and put a timetable behind figuring out that objection. So in Justin's case, we go through a lot of situations where Justin might be going on an appointment. There's an objection or family drama, and he's gotten really much better and much improved on getting ahead of certain issues before they arise because he's prepped for that. He preps the seller to handle those in advance of the appointment or in advance of the meeting.
Wow. So much to unpack there. That's great. Tremendous stuff, Dan. Justin, like, how does that work well for you as far as creating great expectations on next steps?
It takes the guesswork out of it. I don't have to get, because I'm asking these questions, I'm digging deeper, like you heard Dan say. What does it mean to review the contract? So I'm gathering all those details. So it allows me to frame up and it allows me to get all those details in place. We're able to meet each other on the same side of the table.
Fantastic. All right. Can you think of a specific deal where setting this coaching technique of setting these expectations helped you get the deal as opposed to maybe not getting the deal?
Yeah, the one that stands out the most right now was one of my first full virtual deals, which was something new for me. I'm used to being in the person's kitchen or living room. So there were some added logistics steps here that were new for me. So I really had to have the expectations and I had to have the seller in the right place at the right time for everything to come together. What that really looked like is it was a live transfer from a cold call, had that origination, built rapport. The seller needed, or they wanted to feel comfortable by knowing their mortgage payoff. They were interested in selling. They had a why. So we broke away, set expectations to get on the phone in 24 hours. We picked the exact time I was going to call. I called, he had the information. We built more rapport. I was able to dig deeper with some of the scripting that Dan has provided me. And then we set a virtual appointment where I was going to come prepared with a firm, legit cash offer in place. We were going to have a notary meet at the house. We were all going to talk through the agreement and the offer and what that meant. And the expectation was, if my offer was favorable, there was nothing preventing us from doing business. And we were prepared to handle any objections at that time. And the seller really enjoyed the process. While the notary was having the other decision makers sign, we were able to joke on speakerphone, build more rapport. And it was a really fun process, but everybody knew what each step was, what we were trying to accomplish. And it was something we walked alongside each other through the process.
It's perfect. I
Great
mean,
job.
it just makes me think back. We had great coaching when we started out, but I wish that we had this because I
Yeah.
can think automatically of deals where we're just starting. So we would send out a contract and think everything was good. And then we're just
Yeah.
sitting there all night like, what's going on? I wonder
Why
if it's
isn't
going to
he
get
signing
signed. Why
it?
isn't it getting? Okay, the next time we're on the phone while we send the DocuSign and things like that. And or we're going to set it up for 2:00 tomorrow and we'll do it together. So that's just awesome stuff. I love it.
So Dan, one of the big takeaways for me here is that setting these clear expectations like you and Justin have just discussed, and specifically for this deal, which I assume you locked up, Justin.
Absolutely.
And it works, and Justin just said, it's working in a virtual model and belly to belly model. So you can basically use it and apply it.
Like I was inferring earlier, right? That setting expectations and getting really clear at setting the table to make decisions, it's a catch-all in a lot of ways, because on any negotiation in any type of arena, I don't care what it is, if it's a lower end decision versus a higher end, right? It's always going to put you in a better state to make that decision and make it the right way and make a really clear cut decision when you've been prepared and you've already thought out a lot of the kinks and a lot of the possible roadblocks ahead of time. So all you're doing when you set that expectation is you're surfacing a lot of those underneath objections that might be festering anyway. It's a lot like, and I hate to use like a grimacing example, but I want it to stick in the viewer's head, right? When you're dealing with someone who's ill and they have symptoms, right? Many times, whether you're vomiting or whether you're coughing or whether you have hair, whatever it is, it's a symptom of something deeper, right? So when you set those expectations and when you start to align that to make a future decision, you're just bubbling up what might be happening internally so that you could diagnose earlier and you can get to a solution earlier, even if that means that you're not doing business together. It's better to know that earlier in the process than later. So when you're starting to dig deep like that, you're trying to set the table for those big decisions, you're going to get a lot of those objections coming up earlier versus later. And then you can save your own time. You can save the seller's time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So Justin, we're celebrating you just completing your first calendar year with our home buying company. And since then, during that course of that year. You have remarkably done deals in 3 different states now, have contracts in 3 different states. You've done them virtually, belly to belly. And some of the deals you've done have been some of the biggest deals that we've done in general without flipping or anything. So, but you've taken down some pretty big deals. With that being said, you've obviously accomplished a lot, and very impressively a lot in your first year. As you get ready to go into your second year, do you feel like you're still learning acquisitions? Do you feel like you still have a lot to learn when it comes to acquisitions?
One thing I've learned very quickly when I started this acquisitions role is the depth, the skill set that's really needed. I think this is a very different opportunity than traditional sales or maybe in other areas of real estate. I don't think you ever stop learning. I think every experience, it's really important to take pause after that experience has happened and reflect back. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever stop learning. I think I've got a long way to go. I'm proud of where I'm at today, but very ambitious goals for the future.
Amazing, amazing. All right. Shelly's got a question for you, and we'd love to get your perspective on it.
This is a question that we're just going to ask all of our guests at the end because everybody has a different meaning of our whole program is called REI Freedom. And we are very passionate about the freedom that real estate investing can bring. So I'm just going to ask you, what does REI Freedom mean to you?
REI Freedom means really taking control how I can, one, impact my community, but also how I control how I earn money and treat my finances. And real estate allows you to have that entrepreneurial mindset where I can set up my business the way that I want, and it's custom fit for me and my needs. And that for me is ultimate freedom. I don't have someone necessarily controlling that or dictating that through maybe a different employee-employer relationship. And ultimately, I think that's going to be a gateway for me to really broaden my horizons and get involved with a lot of different projects.
Love it.
Great answer.
It's a great
I
thing
totally
about
agree.
real estate is that you can tailor make it to live any kind of life you want. There's a lot of flexibility there, and it gives you a lot of power, freedom to just create a customized life. Yeah, it's awesome. Great. Justin, thank you for being a guest today. There's going to be a lot of people hopefully listening to this that will like to reach out to you and pick your brain. Obviously, you're really good at, you're doing stuff that nobody else has done, right? Nobody else has acquired properties in 3 different states. So there's going to be a lot of people who want to, what do I need to be like Justin, man? What's the best way for them to reach out to you and find you?
The best way is to check out our social media pages at NH Homebuyers. You can also email me at justin@nhomebuyers.net.
Right on. Okay. Thank you, Justin. Dan, as always, thanks for providing great insight on the acquisition coaching that you provide for our team and then our students. For anybody who's interested in learning great techniques, such as setting clear expectations on next steps, feel free to join our coaching program at reifreedom.com. You can also join us on Facebook at our private group at REI Freedom. If you're one of the few selected to get to be a part of our coaching students, we will have the ability to set you up with Dan to teach you all of his ninja techniques. We call him the Master Jedi, and he'll get you making more deals, bigger deals, and less cancellations, and probably greatly impact your life in a positive way. So Justin, Dan, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, guys.
And
So
everybody else, see you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
We like to call the members of our REI Freedom group the Freedom Fighters because we know that when you achieve success in REI, you gain ultimate freedom. Time freedom, financial freedom, and limitless potential to create life on your own terms. But we also know that the road to REI success isn't easy, and sometimes you have to fight to get there. So there you have it. Join us and let's go get it, Freedom Fighters.
All right, Freedom Fighters, I need your help. Please subscribe to our podcast. Please leave a rating and review. It's going to help us out so much as we continue to grow this podcast. Recommend the podcast to friends and family. There are so many people out there that want to be a freedom fighter, just like you and I. We need to share this podcast so we can give them the high-level acquisition skills they need to build a life of time freedom on their own terms. Please visit our website and join our email list, and you'll find extra resources and info there. If you have more interest in following us on social media, REI Freedom, And of course, if you want more info on our acquisition coaching programs, please go to reifreedom.com to learn more. Freedom Fighters, let's go!